So many questions remain tonight after the largest mass shooting St. Paul has likely ever seen. The shootout at a St. Paul bar early yesterday morning took the life of a young woman and injured 14 others, including the suspects.
Did anyone hear anything about this? I'm me, and I didn't hear nothing about this. Salute for whoever sent this. I didn't hear about this. Now, there was other mass shootings. We're up to 600 and something mass shootings this year in this country. 90% perpetrated by some people. However, the biggest one in St. Paul history, and St. Paul is a, it gets very sunny over there. Sun Mayor, Sun City Council, it's the Twin City. It's Twin City is Minneapolis. So let that sink in. They share the exact same DNA as Minneapolis.
So many questions remain tonight after the largest mass shooting St. Paul has likely ever seen. The shootout at a St. Paul bar early yesterday morning took the life of a young woman and injured 14 others, including the suspects. Late this afternoon, several charges were announced against two suspects. We're also learning a lot more about the woman who was killed.
We'll share more on how she's being remembered in just a moment. But first, Lauren Lemanchek is here with more on the charges. Lauren?
Julie, the charges describe a gunfight in the middle of the bar that authorities say was captured on video. Devondre Phillips is charged with 12 counts of attempted murder, and Terry Lorenzo Brown is also charged with multiple counts of attempted murder and with second-degree murder.
Give me just go out on a limb, guys. Give me your ID on these two guys.
Julie, the charges describe a gunfight in the middle of the bar that authorities say was captured on video. Devondre Phillips is charged with 12 counts of attempted murder, and Terry Lorenzo Brown is also charged with multiple counts of attempted murder and with second-degree murder in the death of Markeisha Wiley. Was all captured by the bar's surveillance cameras. Authorities say Phillips appeared to argue with a man identified only as J.H. A short time later, J.H. came back inside the bar with Brown. Authorities say that the video then shows Phillips first shot the man known as J.H. and then fired back. Brown returned fire, hitting Markeisha Wiley in the back. The two men allegedly fell to the ground, both hit by bullets, but kept firing at one another, hitting other bar patrons. Finally, Phillips left, and bar patrons jumped on Brown and got his gun away.
Just wanton disregard for human life. You shoot 14 people and I tell you guys all the time, this is basically everything I tell you guys in a nutshell. First off, you never argue with a son man. Don't argue with them. Second of all, if you see son men arguing, leave. Third of all, if two son men are arguing and one leaves, he is coming back. And if he doesn't, it's a miracle. Okay? I know a situation where a son man left and didn't come back. Happened right on my block. Some guy I know got high off of some PCP, and he started acting really strange and made my boy feel uncomfortable, who was over his house just chilling. And cross some lines. You know how people be off when they're off the boat, the dip of the sherm stick, whatever, the water. And my man, he had trouble getting out the house, but he finally got out of the house because the dude had a hatchet and wouldn't let him out the house. So he left. Went straight to his homie's house, got a shotgun, and was on his way back and got pulled over. And he caught a gun charge for that. But that is what it takes for the son man not to come back. Something like that.
Authorities say Phillips appeared to argue with a man identified only as JH. A short time later, JH came back inside the bar with Brown. Authorities say that the video then shows Phillips first shot the man known as JH and then fired back. Brown returned fire, hitting Markeisha Wiley in the back. The two men allegedly fell to the ground, both hit by bullets, but kept firing at one another, hitting other bar patrons. Finally, Phillips left, and bar patrons jumped on Brown and got his gun away. Now, Markeisha Wiley was just an innocent bystander, as were several other people who were shot in the arm, leg, or foot. Police tonight say neither Phillips nor Brown was legally allowed to be carrying a gun because both have prior felony convictions. Now, both men do remain in the hospital tonight. Julie and Randy?
Just so tragic. Lauren, thank you. Loving, caring, kind, and ambitious. Those are just some of the words those who knew Markeisha Wiley are using to describe her.
Well, today, Heidi Wigdahl talked with family and friends as they try to cope with such a huge loss, and she joins us more with that. Heidi?
Randy and Julie, family and friends called Markeisha Kiki. They described the 27-year-old as a kind young woman with the biggest heart.
She was so kind. She was so nice. She was so loving. She had everything going for her.
Melissa Lash remembers her second cousin, Kiki, as someone who made family a priority. During the summer, Melissa hosted a barbecue for all the cousins.
We're a pretty close-knit family.
Now Lash and her family are grieving the loss of Kiki.
She didn't.
Now, here's the thing about this. Kiki, this is her and her cousins. Obviously, she's majority, probably 70 to 75% glacier DNA. Now, I know she got that, that 25% is powerful on the inside. It doesn't show up on the outside as much, but it shows up on the inside a lot. Still, this is a terrible loss for the glacier glider community up there, man. This was one of their own. I've always heard that all they see is you might as well claim that you a Sun person because glacier glider's gonna treat you like you ain't nothing. That's what they always tell the biracials and the Sun gliders. So they always tell them. And I'm in a town where it's nothing but. Like if you see 20 kids, 18 of them are biracial. And there's not a hint of that. Like not a hint. And I know somebody's drunk grandfather gonna say something one day and it'll probably make the news here in this town. But just as far as the people I see and the people I know, I haven't seen a hint of these Sun gliders being treated any different than anybody else in the family by their glacier glider side of the family. Not a hint. And this is over 10 years I'm seeing this stuff. Not a hint. And trust me, y'all know I be looking, I hear. I listen, actively listen. Not a hint. It's time for these people to start. This is not on us, man. Now the two perps, we'll take the two perps, but This ain't a sister that just got clapped, man. This is something. This is some kind of hybrid. We both gotta mourn this together, man.
During the summer, Melissa hosted a barbecue for all the cousins.
We're a pretty close-knit family.
Now, Lash and her family are grieving the loss of Kiki.
She didn't deserve this. She wouldn't hurt anybody. And for someone's life to be taken so senselessly like this, it's tragic.
I love her. I miss her. And I will forever miss her.
Alexandra Sarantos says many years ago they became fast friends.
Anytime we would talk or see each other, it was like no time had passed at all. She was that type of friend to everybody. And
Kiki also loved animals. She was a vet technician who most recently worked at Inver Grove Heights Animal Hospital.
when is it going to stop? You know, us as the public and community, we need to do better and be better.
What do you mean the community has to do better? In St. Paul, 90% of these shootings, 95% of these shootings are done by one group of people. Let's see how populous that group is in St. Paul. Okay, so St. Paul, population, okay. So they got a very large crouching tiger population here. Of course, it's Minnesota, so glacier gliders are the predominant group. But sun people, 16%. Now, y'all all know my theory on this. 10% of the population of your city is sun people. You gonna feel it. 15%, it's gonna be a hellhole. And they got 16.09. The gun memorial for St. Paul. Okay, it's looking good this last couple of months for some people. But then once you go a little deeper, you start seeing that the 16% is doing a lot. And now here's the thing. We go by that theory that people of the same group kill each other. So we assume that the sun people on here were killed by sun people, and the gliders were killed by gliders, and the crouching tigers were killed by crouching tigers, and the hombredos were killed by hombredos. However, if you look closer, 46-year-old Johnny Ray Aldridge. Johnny Ray Aldridge killed his wife. So you got to understand that when you look at the gun memorial and you see the majority of the sun people, the vast majority, 99% are killed by the sun people. Or you'd see Sharpton and Crump there. But when it goes the other way, it's not necessarily glacier on glacier or hombredo on hombredo crime. Jared Nadeau Lyons in the shooting at a gas station in St. Paul's Battle Creek neighborhood. No surprise there. How about my man Alexander Scott Christoph? Man fatally shot downtown St. Paul was 37 years old. 37-year-old from White Bear Lake. So no suspects in custody in this one. You know what that means. Let's see, Blake Richard Swanson, age 20. After a night out in Minneapolis, a group of young people headed to St. Paul's Raspberry Island to meet friends, never expecting to find danger. As 20-year-old Blake Richard Swanson and his girlfriend napped in a vehicle while they waited for their friends, his girlfriend was robbed and Swanson was fatally shot early Sunday, according to the police and a friend who was with them. So there's a witness. Swanson of Bethel in Anoka County was an innocent victim, the kind of person who wouldn't do anything to provoke anybody. Said friend Evan Mead. Mead didn't see what happened in the park on the Mississippi River across from downtown St. Paul. After Mead parked, Swanson and his girlfriend were waiting in the car for other friends to arrive. Mead went to rent an electric scooter, planning to ride around in the area of his car to pass the time. Mead said he heard a gunshot, but he didn't think it was nearby. He returned to his car where Swanson's 18-year-old girlfriend was bawling her eyes out. She told him Blake's been shot. She had already called 911. They tried putting pressure on Swanson's neck where they thought the wound was. She woke up to rustling around and to a gun in her face, asking for whatever she's got, Mead said, of Swanson's girlfriend. That's what she told him. Police said the suspect climbed in the vehicle, pulled the gun, robbed a female, and shot Swanson. Shooting happened at 3:15 a.m. Sunday. Paramedics took Swanson to the regional hospital where he died soon after. No one was under arrest as of Monday. Okay, so we have a witness, the girlfriend. She knows who did this. No description of the suspects. So yeah. That's St. Paul for you. Yikes.
To everybody. And
Kiki also loved animals. She was a vet technician who most recently worked at Inver Grove Heights Animal Hospital.
when is it gonna stop? You know, us as the public and community, we need to do better and be better.
Alexandra says Kiki was the type of person to always stand up for others, calling her impeccably kind.
It wasn't her time. It just wasn't. It couldn't have been. It just couldn't.
Inver Grove Heights Animal Hospital told us that Kiki had worked there for about 3 months. Prior to that, she worked at Carver Lake Veterinary Center in Woodbury. There is a GoFundMe page set up to help Kiki's family with funeral expenses, and we have the link at care11.com. Julie.
All right, thank you. Well, St. Paul police say overall violent crime is up in the city compared to last year.
Last year was a record. So they're very slick. St. Paul crime is up over last year, which was a record year for crime. Not just St. Paul is up. Crime is up in St. Paul. No. St. Paul's crime is worse this year than the year that set the record
Well, St. Paul police say overall violent crime is up in the city compared to last year. Charmaine Nero talked with some community leaders about the rise and, of course, the push to try and end it.
Shots fired, multiple cars. When I heard that 15 people had been shot, one dead, as I say, it's gut-wrenching.
Tyrone Terrell has spent the last 3 decades serving as a community leader in the Twin Cities. He's usually one of the first to hear about tragedies in this community. But yesterday, Terrell says he was left in disbelief.
One, do I know any of the people? I mean, it's harmful and hurtful no matter what.
A shootout at the Truck Park restaurant overnight Sunday left 14 injured and a 27-year-old woman dead.
As a black community, we feel the real trauma of it.
Why is that, sir? Can anybody in the chat help me with why that certain community feels the real trauma of this?
As a black community, we feel the real trauma of it.
So far this year, there have been 32 homicides in St. Paul. This latest shooting comes just weeks after a quadruple homicide, where 4 people from St. Paul were found dead in an abandoned SUV in Wisconsin, some of them familiar to Terrell.
I knew 2 of the families really well.
It was really disheartening. I'll be honest with you, kind of angry. Seriously, and sad.
Reverend Ronnie Patterson has the 21 Days of Peace program in St. Paul, a gun violence prevention program helping to bridge the gap in the community after recent violence.
It's very disheartening when it's one person that gets shot.
While both hope there are real solutions after this latest tragedy.
The grandmother who can't sit on the porch, kids who can't play in their front yard.
Wait, grandmothers can't sit on the porch? Kids can't play in the front yard in St. Paul's sunny communities? Yikes. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
The grandmother who can't sit on the porch, kids who can't play in their front yard.
They're continuing to pray for the families affected by gun violence.
I keep saying that this is not a black problem, it's not a white problem, it is a human problem. And I truly believe that the change got to start at the house.
He say that with a straight face. With his George Floyd nose. How did he say that with a straight face? Everybody killed on the gun memorial was killed by some person. Everybody. How did he say that with a straight face?
First of all, Chief, thanks for sitting down with us today. Why don't you start out? I'm wanting your reaction to what happened on Saturday night.
Yeah, it's absolutely gut-wrenching when we have seen way too much of this over the last many years. It continues to get worse each and every year. The number of people who are carrying guns out there settling their differences with gunfire in the city continues to go up. And I always say that yesterday's fist fights have, for some reason, become today's gunfights. And the common denominator, what we see with the violence with guns in St. Paul.
The common denominator that we see with gun violence in St. Paul is, how many of y'all think he's going to say it? Hit one if you think he's going to say what the common denominator that they see with all the gun violence in St. Paul. Hit 2 if you don't think he's going to say it. 2.
The number of people who are carrying guns out there settling their differences with gunfire in the city continues to go up. And I always say that yesterday's fist fights have, for some reason, become today's gunfights. And the common denominator, what we see with the violence with guns in St. Paul, is the fact that people who are using the guns to settle their disputes are people who should not be legally or can't legally possess those guns. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the common denominator, the two things of people settling their differences with guns. And the second part of that is people who aren't legally allowed to carry a gun, mm-hmm. who continue to carry the guns. And
so he gave us 2 reasons. He gave us a 2 for 1. I thought he was only going to give us one common denominator. He threw in an extra bonus common denominator. And still didn't have the courage, the force of character, the savings, because he probably loses his job. He didn't have the savings in his bank to withstand a gap in his work history.
And to me, that's the common denominator, the two things of people settling their differences with guns. And the second part of that is people who aren't legally allowed to carry a gun, who continue to carry the guns. And if we all work together, police, prosecutors, and just as importantly, the bench, making sure that there is a high level of accountability for people who continue to do this through the revolving door of the criminal justice system, we will prevent future tragic events like this from happening.